Hello, hello, it's Erin from Lady Poe Designs. Hi guys, I know it's been a while. We have still been going through it. Turns out the car was totaled, so we're having to find a new car, and my mother-in-law ran into some really serious health issues, so we're helping out the family. So it's been rough, but she's fighting and we're doing good. So I've got some bead DIYs for y'all, so let's get into these. So first up, I've got this basket. It's just a plain basket, but we're going to take out the little plastic insert that had in it, and we're going to use the bead mold from IOD. And using my favorite paper clay, we're going to make some molds. And I know y'all know how to do this. Just dust it with cornstarch and press it in there. I don't leave a lot of that in here, just showing you which ones I'm doing. I'm going to do the laurel leaves, the big bee, and then I do 2 of the bows on the side. But we're going to pop these out, flex the mold, and get these out. That's the second bow that I made. And I'm going to cut some of the laurel leaf off because it was too long. So I'm just going to cut it to size. So with Titebond wood glue, we're going to stick these to the side, or one side of the long side of one, I cannot speak, one side, long side of the basket. And then put the big bee in the middle. But I'm not going to waste the rest of that mold. I'm going to put it on the back just for a little more decoration. The bows, I'm going to put those on the side. So there we go. Putting those on either side. And the little pieces that I cut off, I'm just going to stick those on the bottom for the back of the basket, just for a little bit. So we're going in with the Jamie Ray Vintage Paint and Juniper. And I'm going to do 2 coats over the entire basket except for the inside. I'm not going to do the inside. I'm going over all over the molds, and they're still wet, by the way, so I'm being very gentle with them. But I do 2 coats over the entire basket, and the Jamie Ray Vintage paint, remember, has its own sealer, so I didn't have to worry about sealing this because I am going to do a wet distress. I'm going to do a color over this. So I even paint the little ledge and the handles on both sides. So let that dry. With the Carnival Red, that's not the marquee, it's the Carnival Red. It's the one that's a little bit more pink. I'm going to paint that little ribbon in the bow. Because when I wet distress, I want that to kind of show through. You're going to barely be able to see these undercolors, but I still wanted to see them. So I'm going to paint 2 coats of the vintage linen, just the plain DIY vintage linen. And then I'm going to paint everything, inside, outside, everything. Everything gets a coat of the vintage linen. So that's 2 coats. I'm going to do the outside as well, getting into all those details because I want it completely covered. Even going over the red, I do 2 coats on everything. So when that's done, 2 coats are dry. I'm going to wet distress everything back and just let the juniper and that Carnival Red just kind of peek through. It's not going to be a heavy distress. It's very subtle. I wanted it to be soft. I didn't want it to be like bam in your face, but I did wipe back the molds quite a bit and like, you know, the natural wear parts of the basket, like the corners and the handles, things like that. But in the after picture, you'll be able to see a lot better. But then I take the clear DIY wax and seal everything, because that top coat, the vintage linen, you do have to seal. The Jamie Murray vintage, you don't, but it still needed to be sealed. So I popped back the little plastic thing that it came with, and this is how it turned out. This was just a very easy flip. I just gave it a new paint job, put some molds on it, and I think it turned out really sweet. What do y'all think? Let me know in the comments. Okay, so next up, we've got this little jar that my husband found me, and not gonna lie, my husband actually found all of these items that I'm flipping today from his work. So he works at an office place that moves offices from one place to another, and they throw away perfectly good things. So he brings me lots of goodies. But the first thing when I saw this jar is I thought a honey jar. Like it immediately made me think of honeybees, I guess because of the yellow and just the shape of it. But I thought it was really cute. So I popped off all of the rubber components of it, because it's actually, it says it was microwave safe. So I don't even know what this jar was for initially. If anybody would know in the comments, let me know. But I painted all of those elements that were yellow in the little black dress. And then I already had a little bee made. So now we're going to bring out some napkins. So I've got two different ones that we're going to take apart. And I've had these in my stash forever. I got them off of Amazon. I've got huge packs of them. I'm thinking about putting packs on my website like Sammie's doing, because I've honestly got a tub of napkins that I'm never going to use all of them. But all of these are going to be available on my website. It will be in the comments below, as well as Sammie's website. That's where I get all of my DIY, IOD, my Roycycled Decoupage Paper, salt wash, everything. She has it all, so she can take care of you. But we're separating these napkins, and I'm just separating the 4 squares because it's a repeating pattern. And then we're going to decoupage these on this little jar. So just using liquid patina, I'm going to lay down my little strip just like always. And napkins are a little bit more forgiving. You're not going to get them as flat as decoupage paper, but they are a little bit more forgiving when you're going on round surfaces. So they're a little easier to work with. So I'm going to put that one down. I left this in because I start putting this one down and I tore it right here. When I come up right there, I take up the whole thing, and I tried to fix it. And this is what's so great about working with napkins is, okay, just take it off, wipe off the liquid patina, and start over, because I've got 3 other squares, right? So I just got another square, started over. No problem. So I got that side down. They're on opposite sides. And then for the filler, I took the sunflower napkin and kind of tore it up and just placed it where I thought it looked good, just to cover the rest of the little jar. So you can see I'm just kind of piecing it where I think it would look good, putting the little purple flowers in there, the lavender, the sunflowers, just to make sure everything's covered. Kind of like a patchwork quilt. So I've got all those down. Then we're going to come in with Queen Bee and paint the little stripes on our little bumblebee that we're going to put on the lid. And I am going to put a couple of pieces, a couple of scraps on the lid just to tie it into the rest of the jar. I only put a couple. So I put one little sunflower and a few lavender sprigs. So I use liquid patina to cover all of the elements that I painted black, just to make sure that that doesn't flake off. And set those aside and let them dry. Using my sander, I'm just going to take off the excess paper around the top and the bottom. I just kind of folded it down on the bottom and took off the excess of what I could, and then what I couldn't take off, I just laid it down with liquid patina because that little bottom thing is going to go back on the bottom, so it's going to cover it anyway. And my little bumblebee, I glue it to the top, and this is how it came out. I didn't get the recording of me putting the little honeycomb stencil on because my computer crashed. So that was not in here. I lost the video. But I did have a little stencil that I just put some honeycomb with some little black dress on there and finished it out. But let me know what y'all think. Along with the honeycomb, I missed, this is the other part that I lost when my computer shut down. All of these blocks I've painted with 2 coats of the faded burlap, and I've got a big bee and a crown that I had already, made out of resin. So we're going to use the big type letters, or no, this is the tool, the rose tool stamp from IOD. And we're going to make some little blocks that have letters on them, but we're going to decorate them first. So I'm going to use the stone gray ink, the permanent ink from IOD, and just stamp some of these all over the blocks, just random, no rhyme or reason, just trying to cover some negative space. So I go over all the blocks. I also bring out this same stamp set, has some lettering and a dragonfly. I also put those on there as well. And then we're going to take out the large typeset letters and put letters on these. So after I've got them all stamped with the tool, I'm going to go in with the letters. And I've got one cut up thin mount that I keep just for these little stamps like this so I can line it up. But we're going to do the B, the E, Y, O, U, B-U. I'm putting a dragonfly on the top one, filling that in because that's going to be the top block that I'm going to put the little bee and the crown on. So I'm just going to fill that one in. I put some of the lettering on that one as well. So with black velvet, I'm going to paint the bee, the crown, and then we're going to do some accent painting on all of the blocks. So once I get those covered with my clear Gorilla Glue, I've actually come to really like this glue. It works very, very well, and it dries really quick. So I'm going to lay my bee down, and my crown goes on the top. Sorry, it's out of frame. That's how I laid those down. So we're going to take black velvet, and we're going to go around all of the corners of the block. Okay, so basically going to line every edge on this block, but then we're going to kind of shadow it in, and you'll see what I'm doing. I'm kind of out of frame, I'm sorry, but you'll kind of see I'm bringing in the corners to kind of not make it old, but kind of just give it a shadow on the corners. I don't really know how to explain that, but I'm just doing it on all sides, every single side except for the bottom. Of course, you're not going to see the bottom. The bottom is just plain faded burlap. But you can see I'm bringing in the corners, bringing it up a little bit on the sides, just to give it a little shadowing, I guess you can say. So I do that on every side of the block that's going to be showing, just in case somebody looks behind it. If it's on a coffee table or something, I like it to be complete. So I'll go around every side and do that shadowing effect. And I use the pouncer because I find that easier to do kind of blending when you're going from a very light color to a very dark. So it's easier for me to do it that way. But that's how I did that one. So I do that to all of them. So they're all done. Now I'm going to take the clear DIY wax and fully seal everything on all of the blocks. The ink is already dry, so I don't have to worry about that smearing, but I'm going to fully cover all of these with the clear wax. After I've done that, I'm going in with a dark wax just because I want to grunge them up a little. So I'm just going to wipe it on a little bit. If there's any excess, I'm going to wipe it off with a paper towel. Do that to all of them. So then we're going to go in with golden rule and just put some on the molds and on the corners of each block, just to make those accents pop. So go along the corners, anywhere basically where there's black, I rub that gold on there. And this is how they turned out. I was inspired by a picture on Pinterest and I could not find it again. And I tried, but I could not do it. But what do y'all think? I love the way these turned out. Tell me what y'all think in the comments. Okay, our last and final one is just a tray. It says $3, so I'm thinking it was a Dollar Tree tray, but I don't know because my husband brought it from work. So we're going to use, we took the tag off the back, and we're going to use some Dark and Decrepit just to stain this raw wood because y'all know me, I don't like raw wood. So we're going to give it a little bit of color. So I stained the back, the sides, and the insides. Once that's done, we're going to go in with Little Black Dress, and we're going to paint just the bottom of the tray because I know we can use a stamp to get the crackle effect, but I just felt like doing it the normal way because I wanted more crackle. So I painted the whole thing with Little Black Dress, and then we're going to bring out our crackle medium from Folk Art and do a fairly thick coat. I like thick coats with the crackle medium because it gives bigger cracks. So I did that all over just the black and then dried that down. And then we're going to go in with Vintage Linen and in single strokes go across all the black. And you can see by the time I get to the end, like the other side, it's already cracking. You see that? That's how fast this works because of how thick I put it on. But I still put some heat on it just to get more space in the cracks. So now we're going to use some Roycycled paper. This is the Sepia Blossom. I think I'm saying that right. I love this paper. This is kind of the grunge style of the cherry blossom one that she just did for spring. But I'm just gonna trace the tray just to get the basic shape that I want. And then I'm gonna trim it down to size. So I'm gonna cut that side down and then I'm gonna stuff it in there and crease it with my fingers and cut it to the correct size. So once I've got that done, I spray my decoupage paper because it does stretch when it's wet. So I like to always put it down wet. So we're going to use our liquid patina and start laying this down. And I've got it in my left hand and it's not soaking wet, but it is damp. So just like everything else that we decoupage, I do a starter strip and I work my way across. And you'll be able to see just how wet it is when I go to lay it down. See, it's not soaking wet, but I mean, you can tell it's damp. But this makes it go down absolutely flat. I get no wrinkles whatsoever. So I do that all the way across. And I have a little left over because, like I said, it stretches a little bit. So I'm going to let that completely dry. See, it's flat and you can see that crackle. How pretty. So I'm going to let that dry, and then just those two sides where I had extra, I'm going to just go in with my little X-Acto finger knife thingy and cut that out. And it's just two little bitty strips of paper. So I'm going to cut those off. So then with the liquid patina, I'm just going to seal everything in, make sure all of my corners and everything are laid down flat, and I'm just going to bring it up on the sides just to do it. So now we're going to take some little black dress. We're going to make a little sign, kind of like the one that I did in my little spindle water can wood thing. Kind of make one of those signs. It's just going to be just a rustic wood sign that just looks like somebody nailed it together. But I'm not going to fully cover it. I'm going to kind of leave the edges exposed, just make it look like it was haphazard painted. I'm going to paint all three of these with the little black dress. And then we're going to use the apothecary stamps from IOD and a little piece of thin mount that I have cut, and put down our letters. And with the white mixing ink, that's what I'm going to be stamping with, so it'll be white. So we're going to lay down our first one. It's going to be fresh. Second one, honey. And then the third little slat is going to say 25 cents. So I've got those completely dried, and now I'm going to put them together. And I don't want them to be straight because, you know, I want it to be just, I don't know, just kind of looks like it was just thrown together. So I kind of glue it kind of cockeyed on the front. And then with a popsicle stick, because, you know, since I glued it on top of those two underneath, I'm going to put a little piece of the popsicle stick in the middle. You can see they're not even. I'm going to glue one little piece to the back of that middle one so it'll be kind of straight across. I don't know if I'm making sense. I just want to make sure that these don't come apart, so I'm just reinforcing basically. So I took two popsicle sticks, cut them in half, and just reinforce the back. So I've got that dried. I'm going to go in with liquid patina and seal all of that in so it doesn't go anywhere. So once that's dry, trying to figure out where I want it on the sign. I didn't want to cover any of the bees, so I settled with the top. And I couldn't do it on the bottom because I've got a plan for the bottom, and you'll see that in a second. So with my Titebond wood glue, I just kind of glued it just to that little corner. So now I've got this little jar. I've got a whole case of them because I had a plan for them at one time and I didn't do it. But I've got a whole bunch of them. So with the little black dress, I'm going to paint the lid because I didn't want it to be the silver. So I'm going to paint that black. Set it aside. And we're going to bring out our UV resin. And I'm going to make some honey. So I'm going to spray it in my little mixing cup. And I think I used yellow sunshine and then something peach. I can't remember which two colors I used, but these are Tim Holtz colors. It's alcohol ink that you can put in any resin. But I'm going to mix that up. And I've even got these little honey dippers that were supposed to go with these jars. See, I had a plan at one point, but I just didn't do it. So I'm going to pour this in my little honey jar. And what I'm going to start doing at first, oh, hold on. I gotta seal the lid. Sorry. Just liquid patina sealing that black on the lid. Oh, and I forgot I made a little finger bow for the top of my little honeycomb dipper thingy didger. So I tie that to the top just for a little cuteness and just because I wanted to. I've got little bees that I got off of Amazon. They're little wooden bees that are just painted. And I glue one to the lid of the little honey jar. And there's 3 different sizes, I think. And I use all 3 sizes, but I just glue them randomly over the entire sign. But I do lay a couple of them down and then I wait until I'm done dripping the honey. So, or the resin, but it looks like honey. So I drip it down to make it look like it's kind of dripped all over the sign, right? So I'm going to do that, and then using my UV flashlight from Let's Resin, I'm going to cure that. So I can do that in sporadic little places all over the little sign area, all over the tray itself. So you can see I've kind of frozen the little drip right there. So I keep doing that all over. I catch some of them mid-drip. It actually turned out really, really cool. I'm excited for y'all to see the finished product. It turned out so neat. But I just drip it everywhere. I go down the side. And drip some on the lid of the honey jar, of course. No honey jar is perfect. It's got honey all over it. Y'all can't tell me y'all's honey jar is not sticky. Everybody's honey jar is sticky. So now I'm going to go ahead and dip my little honeycomb dipper thingy in there. And I'm just going to drip some of the honey along the bottom of the sign itself and kind of pull it on one side. I'm going to set the jar in the pull and then set the lid up. So when I go to cure it with the light, this is all going to freeze in place. So I'm going to cure all of that and cure the rest of it that's in the jar. So now I'm going to place the rest of my bees where I wanted them to go. And then last little touch, I put one little bow on the sign because I just felt like it needed it. And y'all, I'm so excited. This is how it turned out. Look how cute. I absolutely adore how this came out. I love the dripping honey all over it. I absolutely love it. Please let me know what y'all's favorite was in the comments. And if y'all could do me a huge favor and share this video out, since I've been out so long, I've kind of dropped out of the algorithm, so I'm not showing up anymore. So give this a share if you like it. Leave a comment below, like the video, and remember guys, y'all are beautiful and you can do hard things. Thank you so much for your support. Have a good night, guys. Bye.